Hello, my name is Jeffrey Wells. I'm a columnist for Hollywood Elsewhere, which I started in '04. I live in Wilton, about a 35-minute drive from Bedford, and I am friendly with Dan Friedman and Bob Harris of the Bedford Playhouse, and I was instrumental in booking Babylon, the film you're about to see, Damien Chazelle's Babylon. And I just wanted to offer some very brief remarks, just for a little context, because I feel that Babylon may strike people. It's a, besides being a long film, it's a rather shocking film in some respects, startling, challenging on some level. So I just wanted to offer some brief thoughts. Basically, that Damien Chazelle is a serious filmmaker. He has, as you all know, done 3 films of note. One being Whiplash, about with Miles Teller, about a drummer. The second being La La Land, which everybody loved and was nominated for Best Picture in 2017, came out in 16, and was actually announced as the winner of the Best Picture Oscar for about 2 minutes before it was revealed that the Price Waterhouse guys had screwed up, and it was actually the winner was actually Moonlight. So, but it was a very good film and very well loved. And the third interesting, significant film is called First Man, about the Neil Armstrong saga of the late 60s, and particularly his voyage to the moon, First Man on the Moon, in July of 69. And he also, Damien also did a thing called The Eddy, which is a Netflix series, and that was out in 20. He directed the first 2 episodes, and it was shot in Paris. And anyway, so it's if nothing else, he's a serious filmmaker who is not given to frivolity or digressions. I mean, he goes for it, and you can not accuse Babylon of being tepid. Babylon is right out there in a very strong way, and even if you have, shall we say, mixed reactions to the film, the very ending is, I think, absolutely unassailable. It's a very beautiful tribute to the lore and the dream quality of movies, and it's what the movie more or less ends on. Basically, Babylon is Singing in the Rain, the Gene Kelly Stanley Donen film, 1952. But it was Singing in the Rain without the music, without the dancing, and without the laughs, and 3 hours and 8 minutes long. Singing in the Rain meets Fellini Satyricon, or Singing in the Rain meets Kenneth Anger's Hollywood Babylon, the 1965 book that was assailed for not being entirely accurate and exaggerated and so on, but it had its impact upon many of us who think of the 1920s as quite a wild time, and it was a wild time. So this is really about a culture in which the earthquake, of which represented by sound, starts to move on everybody's feet, and everyone gets anxious as to whether they're going to survive the transition into the sound era. You know that the stars are Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. Margot plays a character named Nellie Leroy, who is been written about as inspired by Clara Bow, the It Girl of the 1920s, whose biggest role, I think, was in Wings, which won the first Oscar, I think, in 1928, 29. But I had happened to score a script of Babylon, and Nellie Leroy is not in it. She's literally called Clara Bow. So the idea was to basically have Clara Bow be the star of this film, but I guess they decided to call her Nellie Leroy for, legal reasons and whatnot. The other character played by Brad Pitt is a guy named, hold on a second, I got it written down here, Jack Conrad. Jack Conrad is like Clark Gable. It looks like Clark Gable, but he's more or less based on John Gilbert, who was quite the matinee idol in the 1920s and was Greta Garbo's lover for some time. And the poor guy did not make the transition into sound very well. The myth is that he had kind of a white voice, but for one reason or another, he did not take as a sound actor, and poor guy died of a heart attack in 1935, largely caused by drinking, a dissolute lifestyle, because he was depressed and upset. Anyway, there's a guy named Manny Torres, who's played by a young actor who I don't know, Diego Calva. And he's kind of the observer character. He's not really a character who experiences his own powerful catharsis and dynamic. It's more or less, he's the audience surrogate, if you will. And then there's two ethnic representation characters. One, a jazz player, a trumpet player, African-American guy named Sidney Palmer. And then there's also an actress named Lady Fei Zhu, who is based upon Anna May Wong, one of the, perhaps the only really distinctive Oriental, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, Asian American. She was born here, Anna May Wong. So the long and the short is that it's basically a film that is quite the journey, quite the intense experience, and however you feel about it, one way or the other, you can't knock the ending. The ending, I believe, is quite transporting, and it's kind of a visual Valentine, if you will, to the lore and the luster of movies, not just the 1920s movies, but all of cinema. And cinema really, in this year of our Lord 2022, is like what, maybe 107 years old, tops. And already it's been undermined as an art form, and already it's really not an exaggeration to say that the glory of cinema days are probably not with us anymore, certainly in a theatrical context. Anyway, so that's the end of it. I just wanted to say that I'm not there tonight because I'm suffering from COVID. I'm coming out of it, but it seemed more responsible to tape this rather than be there live. And by the way, if anybody happens to be interested, I just wanted to tell you, as a passionate fan of this film called Empire of Light, which I saw at Telluride last September, and which will open not too many days in the future, that it is my choice, my selection for the absolute best film of 2022. It's by Sam Mendes, who directed American Beauty and Road to Perdition, and has directed, I think, 2 Bond films, right? But it's excellent. It's like the most emotionally fulfilling film that I've seen this year. And so if you don't listen to the critics who are not being friendly to this film, they are wrong. They are cruel, and they are not telling the truth about this film. I saw it for the second time a few days ago in New York, and it does not diminish. It holds up. So I just want to urge you, if you have a moment, if you have the inclination, it really is worth seeing, in a theater too. I mean, it'll be streaming like everything else sooner or later. But anyway, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy Babylon. I hope it receives the respect that it deserves when it goes out, because it is worthy of respect at the very least. And anyway, I hope you enjoy the film. Thank you very much. Take care.